students and teachers of violence. So what I wanted to bring to you with this video is the ideas behind my thought processes regarding wheelchair EDC, everyday carry. And what I don't want to get across is this is what I think you should carry for this reason if you're in a wheelchair or whatever. The individual pieces don't matter. There's just some key things that I want to highlight. So this first video will be kind of a bare level, a minimal level, everyday carry equipment list. And during the next video next week, we will talk about kind of an advanced wheelchair EDC, where I'll kind of illustrate what is physically possible in carrying for self-defense in a wheelchair. It gets kind of ridiculous, but I think you'd be surprised kind of the advantages that you get from being in a wheelchair as opposed to walking around every day and trying to conceal things on your body. So let me first say that there is an advantage to being in a wheelchair in carrying equipment, life-saving equipment with you day to day. One of them being is that since you're not up walking around and physically supporting a lot of the weight that you would carry, or from the equipment that you would carry, you can carry more. You can get away with carrying more equipment, especially if you're a little bit more physically fit. For example, right here attached to my chair, I've got a full-size medical blowout kit. This particular one's from Dark Angel Medical. It's the Dark Angel is the Dark kit, and I've added some stuff. I've added a tourniquet holder, some trauma shears, and some stuff to the inside. But it's a full-size med kit that you would normally put on, say, a plate carrier, and it doesn't take anything to just attach it to the side of the chair. It doesn't add any, it barely weighs anything. But I can add that. It's kind of an awkward thing to be walking around with if I was an able-bodied, self-defense-minded individual. But that's just to give you an idea. Some other things that are unique to the wheelchair is that you can add Velcro, you can even add MOLLE to a lot of things. You can attach things in places for either self-defense purposes, medical purposes, or just toolkits. For example, I've got a medical sticker on here because it used to be a little medical pouch, and it does have a SWAT tourniquet on the inside, but it's got quite a few little tools in here. I've got light sticks, for example. I've got some 550 cord that's tied up in a Ranger loop, some electrical tape, some wrenches, some Allen wrenches to adjust things on my wheelchair if I need to, and a little baby Gerber micro toolkit. But that's just another thing I can throw on there. It doesn't really cost me anything in weight or anything like that. It weighs next to nothing. So that's another example. Kind of for self-defense minded or kind of self-defense oriented items. I have Velcro attached to the underside of the seat base right here, and I have a Crossbreed Holsters magazine pouch for my Makarov, which I have in appendix carry right now, and that pretty much goes there all the time. Another thing I can do is I can take my Crossbreed. The holster itself was built for the belly band, but it attaches to any Velcro, and I can put it right here between the seat and the base, and it's plenty enough space for me to reach my hand in there, grab the pistol, and pull it out. So the reload is always with me, and I can just move this here and use that maybe as a secondary and put a larger primary on. But that's another option. The other thing that you get from this kind of space right here, you can tuck things in there with the clips, like my Leatherman Raptor tool, which is very, very handy, by the way. I use the crap out of this, and I think I've had to lightly hone it with a ceramic hone once to get it back sharp. It's just a really awesome tool. I have a little Boker skeletonized knife that's kind of attached to the bottom. I can quickly reach down and grab. And bear in mind, these are easy for me to get to because I don't have any legs. That would be unique to my paradigm. If you had legs, this would kind of get in the way a little bit. You'd have to put stuff in the middle if you were going to attach things that way, or something else. On this other side, the camera probably can't see very well, but I've got a soft tourniquet attached to the leg right there, and kind of a Velcro attachment system where I can just undo it real quick and pull it off. because I'm on the range constantly. I'm on the range constantly, and karma says eventually something's going to happen. I've never had to use my medical equipment on actual individuals who got hurt on the range. I've been present when still people have been hurt on the range. It happens. You are around firearms long enough for a longer period of time, and accidents happen. Whether it's equipment failure or someone being irresponsible, things happen. So it's good to have things on you. So that's why I have a little bit extra medical equipment. Me personally, there's nothing really special about my EDC compared to other things. You can conceal things on your waist a little bit differently, and you can read my Recoil Web articles as to concealed carry with a handgun and how the wheelchair affects that a little bit. That's not really affected as much. I will say that it's easier to conceal some things, like small fixed blade knives, if your state laws permit. I like the Scallywag Tactical dagger. Very, very handy thing. If you look at my other YouTube channel, there's a recent video of me throwing the thing. The thing just balances perfectly. There's so many ways you can manipulate the thing with your hands if your hands aren't totally sticky and covered in mud crap from the floor, me rolling around like they are right now. But I guess it's a good thing if you want the knife to stick in your hand. But it's a very nifty little tool. But it's easier. It's a little bit harder to conceal a fixed blade knife sometimes on an able-bodied individual, just on how you're standing up constantly. There's pockets because of the equipment shape of the wheelchair that allow you to hide things a little bit differently than if you're up walking around. Sometimes it depends on the equipment. It depends on the wheelchair. Another thing something that's probably unique though, is that I can actually fill my cargo pockets with stuff, and it doesn't really bother me walking around and having stuff slapping myself in the leg or just being obnoxious. This isn't really heavy, but it's got a Leatherman wave tool in it, so it's got enough weight that if you were walking around with it day to day, it'd probably be annoying you being in your cargo pocket. But I could have a little toolkit in my pocket. This has a Leatherman wave, a lighter, pen knife, and a pair of non-sterile latex-free gloves for medical stuff, or having to deal with gun chemicals or solvents or whatever. So I can carry a toolkit like this in my pocket, and it's not really going to bother me like it would walking around with it all day. And it goes for either pocket, really. So that's another thing that's kind of unique. So one other thing I think you should bear in mind is begin to start thinking of your wheelchair as an EDC item in itself. How can you modify your wheelchair for self-defense purposes? And some you can, some you can't. The staple point for mine, really there's two. We'll talk about the second one next week when we do the extended, kind of obnoxious EDC video. But this is one of my favorites right here, is that my armrests, and a lot of chairs are like this, where these armrests come right out. But this is a solid aluminum tube. It's probably 1/8 of an inch thick. This is a pretty serious weapon if you want to think of it that way. And we've messed with this. I've messed with this quite a bit, and there's a lot of ways you can apply something of this shape. You can hook. You can jab with the apex of the point with two hands. It can act as a hammer. You can use it as something more of a traditional style Japanese weapon or a police baton. The way it moves, it's just a very neat little thing that can serve as a very effective weapon if you saw it that way. So I've modified mine a little bit. I've moved the stopper all the way down so it comes out really easily. Some you can do that, some you can't. Quickie, it's harder to do that on quickie wheelchairs. This is a tie light. I have a quickie at home. But you can just mess with it. Another thing I did is I have spare CR123A batteries wrapped in plastic, electrical tape, and medical tape for texture right here on the inside on top of the stopper. So if I needed emergency batteries, I could unscrew this pull off and I have my extra batteries. Plus it adds a little bit of weight to the swing if I need it there. So just being creative with it is the perfect shape for that. So just some thoughts on how to begin seeing your chair as an advantage rather than a disadvantage when it comes to everyday carry and self-defense concepts.